Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Hello Educator. So we've launched a new series called Mango Science Radio, and we've been sharing science stories for the past 6 episodes. I hope you've been enjoying it. So far it has been by Obli Chandran, who is a science educator and communicator. We will also be sharing some stories from different science educators and scientists and experts as well. Today's Mango Science Radio episode is about the mystery at Broad Street. So the story is from Arumugham, who is a computer science educator, and this is a very interesting and different story compared to the ones that you have been listening so far. I hope you enjoy this episode.
Hello everyone, this is Arumugham and I love computers. My stories will be around computers, math and technology. I hope you all listened to the previous story by Obli on the epidemic that took place 350 years ago. If you remember, he mentioned there was a long gap in understanding of microbes. Our understanding of the spread of disease was vague. People used to think it was because of bad air. Yes, you heard it right, bad air. It was called the miasma theory. They believed that the sewer or graveyard released bad air, and when inhaled, people were possessed with sickness. This was the theory until 1890. Thanks to chemist Louis Pasteur, we got an end to this. But this story is not about him. Of course, it has to be computers. This story is about another gentleman who 40 years before Louis Pasteur suspected that maybe the disease were not spread by bad air. Maybe there is another medium. His curiosity and love for mathematics eventually led to the invention of a new field of science. So around 1813 at York, Great Britain, a young chap named John Snow grew up in the poorest neighborhood of the coal yard. At the age of 14, he took up an apprenticeship with a doctor. Never did he realize that he would end up meeting the spectre that will haunt his entire life: cholera. So London and many other European cities had very poor sanitation system at that time and overpopulation due to industrial revolution. Cholera was pandemic then, from year 1846 to 1860, originating primarily from India, spreading to Russia with more than 1 million deaths. In London it claimed over 10,000 lives, and there were 23,000 deaths in all of Great Britain. Maybe we should probably not point fingers at the Chinese now. Okay, now back to John Snow. Around 1831, John Snow, at age of 18, ended up treating the coal workers when cholera struck. It was a nightmare. The sight of patients after patients dead haunted him and made him more desperate to understand cholera and its spread. So he had a hypothesis. He thought the spread of the disease has to do something with water and not the bad air. This hypothesis came out of his habit of meticulous journaling of his observation. He observed that coal workers died working in the coal mine far away from the graveyard, sewage and swamps. He wondered, how could it be that bad air? Extraordinary claims needs extraordinary evidence. So even though his logic was right, evidence is essential to claim it. He had the scientific temperament from his young age. Around 1848, when he was 35 years old this time, cholera struck for the second time at London. This time, he was determined to prove his hypothesis. He went on to the streets, tracking every possible lead, documenting it and interviewing every possible patients and doctors. He guessed that the water was contaminated with fecal matter, and that led to the spread. He did a survey with two streets, Street A with sewage leading to a well and Street B with sewage leading away from another well. As we can guess, the death rate of people on Street A was higher. But wait, extraordinary claims needs extraordinary evidence? He attempted to explain it to the authorities, but all in vain. He had to find a better explanation than the miasma theory. So he had to find more evidence. Can the authorities even listen to this guy? Around 1854, before the third cholera outbreak, he decided to go full on Sherlock now with a powerful tool this time. Statistics. Yes, statistics. He needed commonalities. He needed to link the seemingly random spread of the disease with water. He discovered an important clue while reading the municipal records of London. He discovered that there were two companies that pumped water supply from the River Thames, and one of them had sewer mixed with it. He got the perfect case study to test, a classic A/B test. With a lot of hard work and running around, he meticulously collected water samples from each house. Before he could correlate, cholera struck again. The 3rd September of 1884, this time more deadlier at Broad Street. The death rate was not witnessed in London since the time of the Great Plague in 1665-1666. He packed his bags and rushed to Baker Street. Broad Street. The street was outrageous. Just the sight of so many people dead reminded of his past. He knew that it should be the Broad Street pump, but he needed evidence to convince the Health Council from his past experience. He knew every minute was precious, and it was witnessed while knocking the doors of houses at Broad Street. The houses were either vacant because of death or people just fled away. Out of desperation, a eureka struck him. He needed another perspective, a top view. He thought, what if we plot all the death to cholera on a map? This was not just another idea, this was a revolutionary idea. He immediately got the details of the dead and their address and started plotting them on the map. A pattern started slowly emerging. The deaths were higher near the Broad Street pump. But he knew it was not enough. He had to trace every possible data or insight and reason out. So he started looking at the anomalies. Eventually, all the anomalies also traced to consumption of the water from Broad Street. Within 48 hours of all running around, collecting all his evidence, map and research, he spoke to the Health Council and they finally accepted to remove the Broad Street pump, but were still reluctant with his hypothesis of spread of disease through water. Nevertheless, they immediately decided to remove the handle of the Broad Street pump, and eventually the spread declined. Later, with help of another inquisitive mind, Henry Whitefield, he found further evidence of the Broad Street pump case, and of course, John Snow's previous research on the two water companies gave a better understanding. Unfortunately, he died when he was 45 without hearing that his hypothesis was right. Well, don't feel bad. His contribution did not go waste. Well, nothing goes waste in science. Today, he is known as one of the founders of epidemiology. Snow's mathematical evidence that cholera was waterborne is one of the founding movement of epidemiology, and the use of mathematics to understand disease, one of the greatest advances in medicine that has saved millions of lives. So why now this story? With the outbreak of COVID-19, are you witnessing all the news channels showing pretty graphs, diagram to explain the spread of the virus? Thank to him for the biggest contribution to epidemiology. We are able to educate everyone and take necessary action. His meticulous insight, or in computer terms, data collection, data analysis and data visualization, is now known as the field of data science. It also tells us that science, it's not just a bunch of facts. It is a method of arriving at the facts, and facts are not easy to come by as the method is rigorous. Science is a process of discovering facts through experiments and evidence and tracking every last bit of evidence so that it is actually factually universal.
We hope that was a very interesting and insightful episode. Thank you so much for listening to Hello Educator. If you like this episode and you like our podcast, please Share this with your friends and fellows. It is just a 10-minute episode. I hope this helps you and motivates you in times of distress. Thank you so much for listening. This is Asif signing off. Catch you up in the next episode of Hello Educator.